I'm Laura Hill, and I'm a demographer at PPIC. I study population issues, including our immigrant population. Today I'm going to talk briefly about how the immigration reform discussions that are unfolding in Washington can affect our immigrant population and California more generally. First, I'll describe our immigrant population, and then I'll talk about the implications of reform for our state. First, California's immigrant population. California continues to have large numbers of immigrants and high percentage of immigrants in our population. In 2011, about 10.2 million immigrants lived in California, and they comprised about 27% of the population. California is home to about 25% of the nation's immigrants. Our immigrant population is a diverse group. They come from a variety of countries, bring a variety of skill sets, have lived in the United States for varying lengths of time, and vary on many other dimensions as well. Most are from Latin America, about 53%, and many others are from Asian countries, over a third. The top 3 countries of origin for California's immigrants are Mexico, with about 4.2 million immigrants, the Philippines, with slightly more than 800,000 immigrants, and China, with slightly fewer than 800,000 immigrants. Among recently arrived immigrants, those who have come between 2007 and 2011, there's been a shift. The majority of our recently arriving immigrants are coming from Asian countries, and more like 30% are coming from Latin American countries. In terms of educational attainment, immigrants make up a large proportion of our less educated Californians, with about 37% of them having less than a high school degree. But at the other end of the spectrum, immigrants also make up a big share of those with advanced degrees. About 8% of immigrants have graduate degrees. Immigrants also vary by legal status, and this is especially important for our discussion of immigration reform today. In California, about 47% of our immigrants are naturalized citizens. Naturalized citizens are immigrants who come to the United States and become citizens later. The next largest group of immigrants in California are legal. They're about 26% of our immigrant population, and legal immigrants are comprised of both green card holders, or permanent residents, as well as temporary visa holders. Temporary visa holders include people who are here to study, to visit for tourist reasons, as well as to work on a temporary basis. The next and final group are unauthorized or undocumented immigrants. And this group is about 26% of our population of immigrants, and I'll use those terms interchangeably in our discussion today, moving back and forth between unauthorized and undocumented. Now, our numbers of unauthorized immigrants are at about 2.6 million currently. That's down from the peak in 2007. And demographers think that this decline has occurred largely due to the recession, but also in part due to increases in deportations. Now I want to talk about the implications of immigration reform for the immigrants that reside here and for our state more generally. Policymakers are trying to resolve disagreements about future flows and about the selection criteria for both legal permanent residents and for temporary workers. Also being discussed is how and whether to legalize the unauthorized immigrants that reside in the U.S. right now, and also how to prevent future flows of this group. All of this matters a great deal for California, and this is evident in the opinions of Californians. A PPIC survey taken in March of 2013 found that 52% of Californians said that passing immigration reform is essential this year. California's economy depends on both high and low-skill immigrant workers, and these important workers can be found in both the legal population and in the unauthorized population of immigrants. California's employers are major players in the debate in Washington, pushing to both increase the numbers of these workers and also pushing for flexibility in the way that workers can be brought in as the economy changes. These valued workers include both high-skill workers, such as H-1B visa holders, and low-skill workers, such as H-2A or agricultural workers. In addition, legislators are considering changing the numbers of green card holders that can come every year, and perhaps more importantly, changing the criteria that are used to award them, perhaps moving more towards employment skill types of criteria and away from family-based criteria. Unauthorized workers include both high and low skill workers, and they're an important part of the economy. In fact, estimates suggest that about 10% of our workforce is made up of unauthorized workers. Now, they are concentrated in a few sectors, such as in agriculture and services, construction, and in production. Should unauthorized workers have an opportunity to legalize, it's likely that high-skilled unauthorized workers will be able to find better jobs suited to their skills. However, low-skill unauthorized workers may not be so lucky. they may be already matched to the right kinds of jobs based on their current skill levels. Yet, any kind of legalization program is likely to encourage unauthorized immigrants to improve their English skills. Many studies have shown a strong connection between English fluency and earnings. I've tried today to give a sketch of California's immigrant population and preview some of the ways that this population and our economy might be impacted should there be federal immigration reform. Whatever legislation is passed, or even if legislation fails to pass, it will impact California disproportionately. Look for our next video on the topic soon, and thank you for listening.